because we want to be strong. Welcome back to Skinny's the Backward. So we just finished our 3rd week and we are now at the beginning of our 4th week of the Orangetheory Transformation Challenge. And we are closely approaching the midpoint weigh-in, which is supposed to be February 26th through March 2nd. Anytime during then you can do your Midway weigh-in. And I will have to say that I am finding it very difficult to be motivated to track my macros. And I don't know why. I think I probably already mentioned that last week and I just still haven't gotten any better. I just have this mental block and I can't seem to do that right now. So I'm gonna be trying to figure out what's going on with that, and hopefully you guys are doing better at tracking your macros than I'm doing. But that's not really what I want to talk about today. So in spite of the food struggles that I am having, I really wanted to focus on what my Orangetheory coaches are telling me to do right now and what areas I can improve on. So during the Transformation Challenge, we have been asked to track and to sort of challenge our base pace and our push pace and our all outs on the cardio side, and also on the weight room side to track our weights and kind of, you know, how heavy we're lifting, and to try and challenge that week by week. So for example, if you started out the Transformation Challenge with a base pace of 5.1 on the treadmill the first week, then maybe the second week you want to up it to like 5.2, and maybe if you have it in you by the 3rd week, 5.3, and so on. So the point is basically to always be pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone. So we know we're always improving, which I totally understand. And, you know, I think that's something that I need continual reminders of, because after 4.5 years of working out Orangetheory, you definitely can kind of become stagnant sometimes with your workouts. It just sort of becomes routine and, you know, oh yeah, I'm going to the gym, but you're not really pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and you're just kind of staying the same. And that's not what we want. We want to improve every week. And that's actually one of the things that I really appreciate about the Orangetheory coaches, because since it's small class size, the coaches really take time to get to know you and kind of know what your limits are, and they also know when to challenge you. So at the beginning of the challenge, I started out on the strider. By the way, if I haven't mentioned before, I do the strider instead of the treadmill just because I have knee issues if I'm running. So I started out the beginning of the Transformation Challenge with my gears around 8 or 9. I decided that I needed to like challenge myself, right? So I went up to gear 13. By the 3rd week of the challenge, I was really struggling to maintain that level 13. So I decided to talk to my coach about it, and she had some really good insight. So let's talk about Splat Points for a minute. If you're new to Orangetheory and you're not sure what this whole thing means, the Splat Points basically just equal the minutes of time spent in the class with an elevated heart rate up into the orange and the red zones. And typically the Orangetheory model says that you should get anywhere from 12 to 20 Splat Points per class so that you can achieve EPOC, which is awesome because you will burn more calories at a higher rate even after the class for the next like 36 hours, I think. I have to admit that for the last year or so working out Orangetheory, I've actually increased my Splat Points more than what Orangetheory even recommends. So a little disclaimer here, I know I've said this in my prior videos, I do not work for Orangetheory and I'm not a fitness instructor, so please do not take anything that I say as advice for what you should do. I'm just simply vlogging my own experience. I've really kind of gotten to a point where I prefer myself to get more like 30 to 35 Splat Points per class. It seems to me like I can like just eat a lot of food, like my metabolism is just constantly on high rev if I get 4 to 5 times a week with 30 to 35 Splat Points. Last week when all of a sudden I was only able to get like 12 to 13 Splat Points per class, I felt like super disappointed. With every single Orangetheory class that I do, I like just have this personal goal that I want to burn at least 500 calories. I don't know why, but it's like that cutoff is just sort of my mental thing. Like it wasn't even worth it if I didn't burn at least 500 calories. And for some reason, when I get fewer than 25 Splat Points, it seems like I can never burn at least 500 calories. It's always down in the 400 and something range. And I hate that. I want to burn 500 calories. So that's kind of why I've slowly upped my Splat Points until I'm really just basically going at almost an all-out pace the entire time that I'm on the cardio. And that's not what Orangetheory recommends you do. So when I talked to my coach about it, she was great, by the way. She's so understanding, and she just says, Kelly, I know how you are, and you're so competitive, and you always want to win. But she says, Orangetheory is HIIT training, which is high intensity training. And the goal of HIIT training is to elevate your heart rate and then bring it back down into the aerobic level. And then elevate, and you're supposed to basically go up and down. And there's a lot of research that you can find online about HIIT training and kind of how it supposedly is one of the most beneficial ways of getting exercise. My coach's advice to me was to bring it back down to what they recommend. Don't go with my 30 to 35 minutes. She actually recommends that I don't get any more than 20 to 25 splat points per class. I really appreciate the advice, Tracy. Thank you so much. I'm going to try so hard for the rest of the challenge to bring it down and be happy, even if I do only get 12 to 13 splat points per class. That's still what Orangetheory recommends. 12 to 20. Tracy says I can do 20 to 25. So that's what I'm going to try to do, at least for the rest of the transformation challenge, and see if that kind of helps. So the 4th week into the transformation challenge, that was my first issue that I was dealing with. And now that I've talked to my coach, I feel pretty confident that I have a new direction and I know what I'm going to do. The next thing that I've been struggling with really just is my competitive nature. Why would a competitive nature be a struggle? That's a good question. So I really think that one of the reasons why Orangetheory has worked so well for me, as opposed to other gyms that I had tried or other diets that I tried in the past, is actually because of my competitive nature. So even if I don't tell the other people in the classroom, I don't say it out loud, I'm always competing with everyone around me. I want to run faster, row farther, and lift heavier. Even though I realize it's extremely silly for me to think that I could possibly do that, especially the older I get. But who cares? I don't care. That is what keeps me going at the gym, so I'm going to keep being competitive. I was super happy to get one of the top women's scores on the 2,000 meter row. But I still didn't beat my prior time. Dang it! So back to my story. So you might be wondering why a competitive nature would be considered a problem at this point. And here's why. So my coaches pointed out to me that oftentimes when we're on the weight room side, they notice that I seem to be sort of rushing through my movements. And maybe it's subconscious, maybe I don't even realize that I'm doing that, but probably I am rushing through because I want to make sure that I get done with everything before the person next to me, of course. But that's not the goal of the weight room side. My coaches really had to remind me of this, and I really appreciate it. When we are on the weight room side, we really need to be focusing on good form. It's not just a race to see who can get the most reps in and finish first. We really want to be mindful of what our body is doing and what muscle groups we're trying to use with every lift that we're doing. So for example, last week we were doing some shoulder presses, and me being like so competitive, I decided that I was going to up my weights from 15 pounds to 20 pounds. They're always reminding when you're doing shoulder presses to keep your core engaged and don't flare your back out in case you might hurt your lower back. But I think I was kind of rushing, and I had grabbed the 20-pound weights because I wanted to challenge myself, and I had flared out my back a little bit, and sure enough, now I've been struggling with lower back pains all week long. It's really my own fault because I was not listening to what my coach said about my form, and I was not being mindful of my form. So my bad. I now know. The weight room just really seems to be where I struggle to slow down and be mindful of every single exercise that I'm doing. You're not supposed to just go in there and like throw weights around. So that's where I am at 4 weeks into the Orangetheory Transformation Challenge. Those are the things that I'm struggling with and the things that I'm working on. I hope you guys are doing well in the Orangetheory Transformation Challenge if you're doing that. And if you're not, if you're just kind of on a fitness journey or trying to improve yourself, then more power to you. I'm so proud of you. Keep it going and do not give up because we want to be strong. I will see you guys next time on Skinny's a Bad Word. Bye.